Welcome everyone. Welcome to the first webinar in a new series in the Open Calls Network, co-organized by the Netherlands Space Office and the dotSPACE Foundation, where we'll be talking about opportunities for space data and for space organizations in Horizon Europe. Today, can you go to the next slide? After my welcome and introduction, we will have several speakers. Starting with the Netherlands Space Office, Raymond, who will introduce us to the Open Calls Network. And then we have two specialist speakers on the topic of today, the climate neutral and smart cities. We start with Ron Valk of CGI Nederlands, who will talk us through what CGI is doing in this area. And then we have Otto Fabius from Sobolt, who will do the same from the Sobolt point of view. After that, we'll be looking at the Horizon Europe calls. As I will say a little bit later on, we have specifically selected a few calls for this topic, and my colleague Andrei will explain some of these calls to you. And after that, we give you the opportunity to pitch in, quite literally, through pitch sessions. We've had quite a few applications to do a 1-minute pitch where you can showcase what your company does, what your project does, and how you can be involved with the companies that that are joining us today in Horizon Europe calls. And after that, we'll open up for networking. We'll keep this call open as long as needed, but that will probably start just before 5 o'clock, where you will have the opportunity to meet the speakers and talk about the opportunities that we're going to see today. So if you can go to the next slide before we hand over to the first speaker, a few logistics. We encourage you to please use the chat. Use the chat to introduce yourself. Share your LinkedIn profile so you can connect on LinkedIn. And please ask your questions for our speakers in the chat. We'll be looking at the chat, and after each speaker, we will ask your questions live to the speaker. Next one, Ali. For our viewers on LinkedIn, you can watch all the presentations, but you cannot join the networking. So if you want, please join us on Zoom, register for free to join us in Zoom for the networking. You can go to opencalls.space to see how you can register. The link to the registration page is right there. Next one. Then the presentations and the replay. So no need to make notes. We will share all the presentations that you're going to see today with all of you who registered for this webinar, and the replay of this webinar will be posted on our YouTube channel right afterwards. You can contact us for anything on this email address here. If you have any questions now or later, this is how you can reach us. Yep. Then. As I said, after the presentations, we'll go into networking. You can join the speakers, you can join each other, because the whole idea of the Open Calls Network really is to meet each other, to meet like-minded people, to form consortia for the Dutch space industry, to meet the European space industry, and form consortia to use these opportunities that we're going to see today. We'll keep the call open as long as needed, as I said, and again, please share your LinkedIn contacts in the chat so people can contact you. So next one. Then we have a special LinkedIn showcase page where we will post all the news about the Open Calls Network. So please register for it. It's called Open Calls Network. You can see it in the screenshot here on the right. Very easy to find on LinkedIn. And of course, you can follow us on social media. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook for all updates on what's going on in the Open Calls Network and everything else in Groundstation. Oh, we can skip this one. Yeah, after the call, no, maybe not. After the presentations, as I said, we have these people. If you can confirm in the chat that you're ready to give a 1-minute pitch. And again, a 1-minute pitch will be a 1-minute pitch. We will time you, but these are the applications that we received. If you want to use 1 or 2 slides in your presentation, please send them to Katja. You should have received an email from her a few days ago with her email address. and a request to send in your slides if you want to use them. If not, that's perfectly fine. Of course, pitching without slides is even more appreciated, and it's easy to stick to 1 minute. Okay, next page, please. Then, yeah, let me introduce real briefly the Open Calls Network. What is it? As I said before, the Open Calls Network consists of space sector opportunities, so funding calls in Horizon Europe. We try to highlight knowledge and expertise of the Dutch space sector, and we want to connect the Dutch and European specialists to form successful consortia. You can find all of this on the Open Calls dotSPACE website. Next page, please. So the Open Calls Network really consists of 2 parts. The first one is the Open Calls platform that I just mentioned, opencalls.space. If you go there, you will see the Horizon Europe funding calls that we have selected for you. You can search through all these calls and you can find calls that are specifically suited to your business. And then the next one is the other part of Open Calls. Next slide, yes. And that's the webinars. This is the first one of a new series of webinars that we do this year on a different topic that is part of Horizon Europe for Space every time. So today we're going to focus on climate neutral and smart cities. Then next week we have a very similar session on digital and industry. And on the 5th of July, the last one before the summer break, will be on safety and defense. But after summer in September, we're going to be back with more in September, October, and November. So please keep an eye out on the website and on the social media channels for the announcements for after summer. Okay, then without, I think that's it. Next slide, please. Yes, so going back to the agenda, that was my introduction. And next slide, please. I'll be very happy to now hand it over to Raymond, who will welcome us on behalf of the Netherlands Space Office.
Okay, thank you, Remco. I'm Raymond Sluiter from the Netherlands Space Office. And actually, the Netherlands Space Office advises the government and executes the national space policy. So yes, we want to use to increase the use of space for the societal challenges we face, and we have many of them. And space data like Earth observation data and also the Galileo location data has a broad way to be used to reach our goals on societal challenges. So, and for funding this, we are looking further than to the national space budgets, but we see also that there are many opportunities now within Europe, and especially within the Horizon Europe program. And in the Horizon Europe program regarded to space, we have a special work program in the digital industry and space, and that's focusing on technology development, space technology, and also on the use of Earth observation data. But as I told you, yeah, these societal challenges are very broad, and not only within Copernicus or not only on technology development, but also on other themes, not in the digital industry and space work program, but in other clusters of Horizon Europe. And that's why we co-organize this event together with dotSPACE, that we have these webinars and that we have the open call portal. And here we would like to inform the sector about the opportunities in Horizon Europe with respect to space, Earth observation, and location data, Galileo and Copernicus. And yeah, we want to improve the way that the national and international partners can find each other, because the Horizon Europe is really an international collaboration. So it's important that you can find each other and that you know about the topics that are now present within Horizon Europe. And with this, I can finish my introduction, and I wish you a fruitful webinar.
Thank you very much, Raymond. So can we put the slides back up real quick, Alan, please? The slides. Yep, and move to the next one. Because thank you very much, Raymond. So with that, I would like to hand over to our first speaker of the day. Ron Valk is the Director Consulting Services Space at CGI Netherlands, and he will give us an introduction about what CGI does in climate neutral and smart cities. For about 10 minutes, and after that you'll have the opportunity to ask a few questions. So we'll go 10-minute presentation more or less, and then a Q&A of about 5 minutes. So again, please ask any questions you have in the chat. Ron, over to you.
Okay, can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. My name is Ron Valk. I represent CGI. CGI is one of the largest IT service providers and business consultancy firms in the world. With 84,000 people, we are working in almost all industries around the globe. And in Europe, we're working with 1,000 people on the space domain. We work on satellite navigation, so the upstream satellite communication, and also data control, so the remote sensor control. And we also provide sorry, that's Miss Mouse. Sorry for that. And we also work on the downstream applications. And today I would like to focus on two of our downstream solutions. And if you, by the way, if you want to connect with me, in the right bottom is my QR code to my LinkedIn profile. So please feel free to connect with me on my LinkedIn profile. Yeah, if you do a small Google or a small search on the web, you see a lot of things about climate neutral smart cities. Yeah, it's really time to focus at the moment. But what is sustainable? What is smart? How can you measure it? Because you need to have a certain reliable system, an independent system, to identify the track record, so the change towards a sustainable city. And I think space solutions can help maintaining, controlling, monitoring the progress of the transformation. So that's why we developed two solutions in that domain. And I would like the first one is focused on Earth observation, so it's remote sensing solution. We have developed our platform CGI Environment Monitor 360, which is a near real-time monitoring system with fully automated capabilities of processing data. It's a cloud-based environment which applies models on all kinds of sensor data into usable and actionable services. And we have developed 8 services which are listed on the left. And I would like to highlight our Healthy Urban Habitat Index, which is based on the combination of greenness, so the amount of greenness in cities, the temperature of cities, but also the air quality. And it combines it combines all the data into the Healthy Urban Habitat Index. And the score is a score from 1 to 5, and it can give a global overview, but also on a local level. And this is an example from Amsterdam, where we focused on neighborhood level. So you can see which parts of the city are healthy and which parts are not healthy. And based on this information, you can do your city planning. You can monitor the progress in your changes in the climate adaptation. And this service is available, for users. So if you have any questions about this, please feel free to contact me to have discussion. I think this is very useful in all the Horizon calls, which are currently open. So that's the first one. The other one I would like to highlight is our S-Tracks, our secure tracking service, which is the other way of it, because you have your local in situ sensors, and those sensors, how can you rely the specific sensor is in that specific location? This service is based on the Galileo PRS signal, and this signal helps us to is this is a signal which is reliable, unspoofable. So you can validate and be sure that that sensor is exactly on that location. And you can also use it for monitoring all kinds of emergency services. So it's a validation of your position, which makes your sensor information reliable. Combine it together with the remote sensing, so from the Earth observation satellites, and it brings an overall solution with reliable, globally spent information, which can be compared to all kinds of which can be compared, where you can compare different countries with or different locations with each other. And why should you have those reliable positioning? Of course, it can be used as evidence. So if is really that specific city, is it making progress which is promised in the agreements? Is it making the exact steps heading towards something? And of course, yeah, we can use that signal and we can make a validation towards all kinds of solutions. So I think there's two solutions we can provide from CGI via CGI, which can help and contribute in this specific service. And yes, if you have more and additional questions, please feel free to contact me. And this is my contact details. And I'm open to have more questions or to answer some questions, which I can hopefully answer.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Ron. That was very interesting. Good to see the stuff that CGI is involved. Let me ask, if I may, to what extent is CGI involved in Horizon Europe calls at the moment, and how do you see CGI's involvement in Horizon Europe calls in the future?
At the moment, we are limited involved. By my colleagues, we are involved. From the Netherlands, we are at the moment not involved in the Horizon calls, but we are more open to collaborate and to work together with parties to team up and to join.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, because one of the things that that some people here in the call might be listening to with sort of a hidden agenda is the opportunity to work with a large organization like CGI in Horizon Europe calls. So no, this is really good to know, and I'm assuming they can contact you if they want more information about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
One other thing, well, first of all, let me ask everyone to, if you want, ask questions in the chat, please. If there are no questions, I do have another one. You talked about this healthy urban metric. Is that specifically designed by CGI? Is that a CGI specific solution, or has this been developed with many other partners who are using this?
No, it's a CGI specific development, and it's based on the on a few parameters, but it's based on CGI models. Yes, correct. So, but that's something we can contribute to Horizon calls. Okay,
because I know there's others in the chat, and thank you, Shagnik, for jumping in. Because there's several metrics developed by several organizations. I was wondering how they are in line with each other. And Shagnik from Ecoten is asking, is the healthy urban index a global scale? Does it apply to every city?
Yeah, we have yes, it can be applied globally, and it is already applied globally as well on specific cities. So, but it depends on of course on the depending on the availability of the size of the urbans or the neighborhoods. That's the more or less detail, because we can provide on very large and detailed scale, but it's globally available. Okay.
Well, thank you very much, and I am looking forward, Shagnik, to your presentation, where hopefully you might give some information on how Ecoten might be dealing with this. But we'll have that in a minute. Yes, I do see another question. Can the parameters be adjusted? So Flavia is asking, can the parameters be adjusted depending on the context or city?
Yeah, absolutely. So we developed this on Yeah, and we can adjust, of course, based on the input of the end user, we can adjust the parameters. And we can even expand the models if required. We can add also other data source or inputs to further specify our model.
Can I ask Ron, since it is a monitoring tool, what is the time? I mean, do you have time slices? I mean, when it started? I mean, do you also have historical data?
We don't hold an archive at the moment with historical data, but if the data is available, we can produce it almost instantly. There's of course some processing time involved, but that's relatively limited.
Okay, I guess we do have a minute or two. Pierre in the chat is asking what is meant by your product environmental services?
I'll go back to that slide. Sorry, so it's to rephrase the question, is what's our environmental services?
What is meant by your product environmental services? Or he probably meant this environmental monitor.
Okay, that's our more or less that's on the right corner. That's our platform, which consists of a cloud environment based on building blocks, for example. And as you're using in optical data, we have with satellite data, of course, we have problems with clouds. There is for example, module to remove the clouds and to complete that or with older, a little bit more historical data. That's an example, or to uniform the data. All those kind of building blocks that can be linked into a process flow, and that provides our services, which are currently described on the left. So the 8 services.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
Well, we should ask Pierre, but I think we have the opportunity also to meet with you on after the presentations in the chat. So sorry, in the networking session. So I suggest that any further questions are asked during the networking in the breakout rooms, and that we now, in the sake of time, move to our next speaker. So if we can change back to the introduction slide for our next speaker. Can you share that, please, Ali? So stop sharing, yeah, stop this one, and then we start the next one. Yep, and move to the next slide, because with the next slide, I would like to introduce Sobolt and our next speaker, Otto Fabius, who will talk to us how Sobolt deals with our topic of climate neutral and smart cities. So Otto, over to you.
Thank you very much. I hope my screen is visible to everyone behind the screen. I'm getting a nod, thank you. So, smart cities with Earth observation and, in our case, artificial intelligence. I would like to briefly tell you a bit about our context. We are a company founded in 2016, so still relatively young, based in Rotterdam. We have a focus on sustainability in everything that we do, in a very broad sense of the word. This means we are involved in energy, circularity, nature, so a lot of topics relevant for smart cities as well. And we work with remote sensing data. We started explicitly with Earth observation data, but by now we are working with all kinds of remote sensing data in greenhouses, in public environment, but still from above as well. And typically we have deep learning algorithms to sift through all this data and to find the right information that we need within the context of our service or solution. I wanted to tell you about a couple of different solutions that we offer in the domain of smart cities. The first of which is the optimal use of urban space regarding rooftops. So of course, there is a huge push towards sustainability in the energy sector in the Netherlands, but also a limited amount of space. And one of the best places to put, for example, solar panels is on rooftops, because it's a multifunctional use of otherwise potentially wasted space. And what we do here is what we have is a solution where we have, for a large part of the Netherlands, over 100 municipalities by now, basically a map of all the roofs in cities or in provinces. And for each roof, we analyze if there are solar panels already or not, and if there's potential for solar panels based on 3D analyses. And this gives municipalities insight into the current status, but also the potential, and helps them formulate policy and also monitor this. And this way we help over 100 municipalities towards further defining their regional energy strategy goals, and to actually being able to execute them and follow up on them. You see an example of a neighborhood in Rotterdam here. And of course, solar panels are not the only thing that you can imagine on a rooftop. There are also other multifunctional uses, such as green roofs and water roofs, water retention. This is all part of our solution. Second, in the theme of optimal use of urban space, is solar carports. Compared to solar on roof, this is a super young market, but already a market that is gaining significant traction. We noticed that a lot of governments are trying to realize solar carports within their municipality or a region. And what we have developed for this is a tool where we first localize all the parking lots within a region. This seems trivial, but there is typically not one source where GIS information on parking lots is available, because the owners are all different, and a lot of open source tools or sources are not complete. So we gather all this information on the map of all parking lots within a city. We do a shadow analysis on each parking lot individually, and based on that, we're able to develop a business case that incorporates all the rules and tariffs about solar carports. So here we see an example of a carport in Rotterdam, Blijdorpplaan, and with this tool, we're able to not only show all the parking lots on a map, but also calculate the business case for a solar carport, including all of the specifics that you might not think of if you are, for example, the owner of a theme park and you would like to realize a solar carport on your parking lot. You don't know where to start, and this brings it all together. The third application I'd like to introduce you to is digital tree management. Holland is super advanced when it comes to thinking long and hard about every square meter in the country, which includes trees and management of trees. Almost all trees are in the city limit have to be inspected yearly, not only in relation to health, but also in relation to safety regarding overhanging tree branches on cycling roads, etc. So using LiDAR data from the ground, we do automated tree detection. We measure everything that needs to be measured for their health and for registration purposes. But using this information, we are also able to quantify ecological impact, like biodiversity, water retention, impact on shade and urban heating effects, and all these different factors. And this is all integrated within the workflow of tree management in the Netherlands. So we have multi-year contracts with a company that performs this for different cities. And we're also looking to expand at least part of this approach to other countries to see if we can integrate some of the developments from the Netherlands within other countries who typically are a lot less far in terms of the requirements for digital tree management. And lastly, what we have been working on for a couple of years now is nature monitoring with Earth observation and AI. Also here, there is quite a strict framework in the Netherlands about which type of nature should be developed where. And this also relates somewhat loosely to the EU governance of nature areas, which is called the Natura 2000 network. And here, using aerial photography and satellite data, we are able to roughly classify lots of different types of nature areas and monitor changes in drought, changes in increase or decrease in certain types. And this way also help regarding policy and effectuation of policy measures on a large scale. With that, I'd like to end this presentation. I hope this was somewhat clear in the 5 minutes, but of course, open to questions. And also, you can always get in touch later to speak more to me about potential collaborations.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Otto. This was very clear and very much on the topic of climate neutral and smart cities. While we're waiting for questions in the chat, and please ask your questions in the chat so we can pass them to Otto, but I had a few questions myself. First of all these examples that you show us are Dutch. Does it mean that Sobolt works mostly in the Netherlands, or are some of these projects international as well?
That's a great question. I think I touched upon, for tree management, I touched upon this being Dutch, and we are actively looking to integrate this in other countries. The same goes for our solar city planning solutions. Also there, we noticed that this is particularly because of the space requirements in the Netherlands. We are a little bit ahead in terms of city planning regarding solar and integrating this in public policy, whereas in other countries, sometimes it's really easy to just realize large solar fields. But the short answer is we're a young Dutch company. We have a network in the Netherlands. We think we have some solutions that would benefit greatly, that some other countries would benefit greatly from too. We have ambitions of participating in Horizon 2020 calls. Or what's the new name of the new framework?
Horizon Europe. Yeah.
Horizon Europe. Thank you. Horizon Europe calls. We have some experience in joining consortia there as well. Currently mostly in the Netherlands with some pilot projects abroad, but looking to expand.
Yeah, because especially those parking lots, I associate that with like Mediterranean countries, southern countries where it's much warmer, where they have covered parking lots already, just not equipped with solar panels.
Yeah, of course, we don't even have that much sun, and you can get about 1.5 times the yield in the Mediterranean. So
that's amazing. Just a few questions that I always think of personally. These parking lot solar panels, are they connected to like a charging grid for cars that are parked underneath, for electric cars?
Yeah, it's quite attractive to offer charging points or fast charging points at a carport, but it depends on a lot of external factors. Like, for example, if you're realizing this at a supermarket, it might be very attractive for customers to come there by car, park there for half an hour, recharge their car while they're shopping, and leave again. So that can definitely be a good part of a business model. Yeah,
exactly. Now, I assume that's not all what you do. You mentioned this website, parkthesun.com. Is that a partner that you work with, or is that something Sobolt developed themselves?
Yeah, it's something we developed in collaboration with the province of Noord-Holland in the Netherlands, and that's something that we have been expanding across the Netherlands, helping governments try to basically kickstart the solar carport market.
Okay. Yeah, and I was wondering something similar. I saw the trees the tree monitoring that you do. Is Sobolt involved in this bomenregister.nl, this tree register.nl? I mean, I use that often in talks about urban applications. Is that something you're involved in?
As far as I know, this is independent from Tree Tracker. We are working closely with, we have been developing this with Bomenwacht, who are a large tree management company that perform a lot of contracts for cities. And the boom inspectors are a party who regularly use Tree Tracker for their tree assessments as more or less a part of larger tree management efforts.
Okay, excellent. I'm gonna, as my last question, I'm gonna ask you the same question that I asked Ron, and you partly answered that already, but how interested, well, first of all, how involved and how interested is Sobolt to be involved in more of these types of space calls in Horizon Europe?
Yeah, like I said, indeed, we have been involved in the future. Recently, we have had a renewed ambition to be part of a successful consortium here. I think even on the short term, we'd be very happy to talk about the different directions we can take. And we're right now we're setting up new efforts to get this off the ground.
Excellent. Well, I guess this call could be a good starting point. So you'll be available, Otto, after the presentations in the breakout rooms where people can meet you in person and talk further. So thank you very much for your contribution. And then I'd like to hand over without a slide, so we're not going to worry about slides changing, to my colleague. Andrei, who is going to talk about the topic of this call, the open calls themselves. So without further ado, Andrei, talk to us about the opportunities in Horizon Europe, please.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Remco. So yeah, first of all, thank you for the very interesting presentation. I can hardly wait to talk with you, Otto, in the breakout room. I have some really interesting questions and then networking, because this is about all about these meetings in the end. So what I'm supposed to do within these 10 minutes is just to give you an incentive to actually look and then search what is really useful for you, and then what dotSPACE together with the Dutch Space Office is able to provide you as a guideline, or in helping you in gathering all the necessary information about the calls. So what is Horizon 2020? What is Horizon Europe? That's something that you are trying to find out the answer, Otto. So basically, Horizon 2020 was between 2016 and 2014 and 2020. The next iteration of research and development for Europe started in 2021 and will last until 2027. What has been changed basically the main driver behind the research and development. So basically coming from excellence in science, then it moved towards open science. Then where most of the projects that are actually locating and a lot of investment has been done in research and development are the so-called pillars and the missions, which sits in the middle of both images. And then just to have an idea about the sums, and then I was talking about pillar number 2. These are the amount of investment that have been put in calls starting from 2021 to 2027. The way these investments are done in research and development is in a cycle of 2 years. So basically, the 2021, 2022, it's a cycle. And then Commission publish through its services, internal services, the work program of Horizon Europe. Now we are already at the end of a cycle. The last calls of this cycle will be published in June. Some of them they were published in April and May. How can you find and read about these calls in a snapshot? What this call actually tell you, the title of the call. So if you're looking for Horizon Europe call, then you have the indicator Horizon. What dotSPACE says. dotSPACE says basically where in the cluster that I showed before here they exist. Each cluster is basically cluster 1 is health, cluster 2 is culture creativity, cluster 4 is industry and space. And that's how you identify them. The cluster number is going to be specified. Then you have the year of the call. For the calls for 2021, you have 2021. For the calls in 2022, you have 2022. And then also you will have specified there what is the destination of this call. So basically, what are the expected results? And this is very much important in actually when you think to apply a call to be very much aligned with this destination. So basically strategic autonomy for developing, deploying and using global space infrastructure, services and applications and data. So it's very important when you design a consortium to look what the destination is. you can find more information about this specific call, which is one of the calls that we shortlisted on the lower left, where we have also Horizon Europe conducts this called Info Days, and you have a video there where you can look and inform yourself about the call, what are the results, what you do with your, what you should write, how you should write, and all the necessary information you can find there. For the specific thematics of this webinar, we shortlisted 7 calls. Of course, Katja and Nas will share with you these calls. You can have the presentations. Basically, you have hyperlink for each of these 7 calls, and you can simply use these hyperlinks in order to go to the fact sheets that we actually provide within the open space calls on our website. Also, what I've added when the call has been open. So, for example, the first call has been opened on 5th May 2022, and then deadline is 6th September 2022. Also, what I've added for some calls where it was available, I added also a specific links to the info days provided by the European Commission services, where you can inform yourself directly from the project officer that designed the work package and the work program, what they are actually expecting for this call. So this is very important for you when you start to create a consortium in order to align yourself with the proposal to what is actually requested from this project. This is how the fact sheets looks, and then you can have these fact sheets in a snapshot from our open calls network and from our open calls dotSPACE website, and then we created these fact sheets in order for you to get all the necessary information in a whisker. Basically, in 10 minutes reading, then you have a really relevant information for you. For more details, of course, you can simply go to the more detailed information. What is here is just like an incentive for you. If you are apply for and then prepare a submission, one of the most important changes from Horizon 2020 to Horizon Europe is how you prepare the proposal. And then one of the most important part of preparing the proposal, we are not here to tell you how to prepare the proposal, how to write the proposal. There are more specialized companies to do that. But I have to highlight to you that you should start always with the canvas part, because this is one of the most important part of the proposal. It is a summary of our proposal from this point of view. So pay attention to this. There are a lot of guidelines around, and this is a snapshot from the guideline presented by the European Commission. Now, where to find the companies? Of course, through our webinars, and then to direct contact during our networking session. In this case, CGI, we have CGI and Sobolt, but also dotSPACE, together with its partner, they started to develop the so-called space industry map or space ecosystem maps. What you have here on screen, I put two of this type of outputs. So it's the space industry map of the Netherlands. You will get a complete snapshot of the value chain and supply chain of Dutch space industry. And then also recently we published the same type of map for a space ecosystem together with OSPA and then our partners in Czech Republic. Now concluding my presentation, specifically for Dutch companies, the Dutch Enterprise Agency, RVO, has a national contact points and advisors that will provide the service of guiding you in writing, not guiding you, but actually reviewing and giving you advices and tips how, once you written the proposal, if the proposal meets the expectation of European Commission from this point of view. But I have to stress again, this is only valid for Dutch organization, because this is a Dutch governmental organization. Then you have the CEDIA, EU Port Single Electronic Data Interchange Area, where you can find yourself the calls. Of course, if you want to do this directly from the source, or but also, as I said, you can use our open calls dotSPACE in order to get them much faster, because you already brushed hundreds and hundreds of calls and then selected the one that are relevant for space. And then finally, the less link, the less hyperlink that are presented here. I mentioned here in the Horizon Europe Info Days, specifically for this cluster that we were interested today. There are info days that already have been done for Disaster Resilience Society that will come a little bit later in our webinars. This will happen in the end of June. So do consult all the time our website to get the calls, and then try to get as much as possible information about possible partners, but also to get yourself informed about what these calls are about, because these are the most important things in setting up a proposal. So that will be from my side, Remco.
Okay. Thank you very much, Andrei. That was a lot of information. So I can imagine that this is kind of overwhelming. Of course, we'll be sharing the presentations with all of you who registered. If you haven't registered, if you're watching through LinkedIn, then please go to opencalls.space. That is literally the address where you can find the registration page. We'll keep it open so you can be added to that list to receive this information from Andrei, but also from our other speakers, including all the links to these fact sheets that you mentioned. I know at Groundstation we put a lot of effort into making these fact sheets usable for you and to really summarize the essence of these open calls and of these funding opportunities for everyone involved. So thank you very much, Andrei. I do have a question though. Here on the call we have quite a few people who are not based in EU member states. How can non-EU member states still be involved in Horizon Europe or in these space call opportunities?
It is specified within the calls. Most of the times, there's a big focus on Africa, on African countries. And then I remember for all the European projects that actually we are catering and we are working within, always the project officer, basically the project manager that works for the European Commission, ask for case studies or ask about how do we reach out to Africa. Of course, it's also valid for other geographies, but this is specified within the calls. But again, the partnership between Europe and Africa is of extreme importance. So we will always be looking for case studies in African geographies. Okay, thank you for that. Now, what is the role of Groundstation in this? What is your role? How can Groundstation.space, in the context of its partnership with NSO, help create consortia and help people write proposals for these calls? Yeah, the role of dotSPACE is being a broker. So basically, we have a large network of partners and companies that we can reach out. And we have done this in the past. And then we're also able to do it right now for some calls, for example, disaster resilience. And also at dotSPACE, we provide a lot of tools that can be from ideation, business canvas models, because in the end, every project, every research project, you should look also as a business, because it needs to provide a viable solution. And then now the Commission also gives a lot of focus on actually more monetization of European project results. So for example, for research and innovation project, it's more about research, but for innovation action, that's about actually producing tangible services and also products. So it's really important to get the right partner. So that's where dotSPACE can fit in. And of course, I mentioned all the tools that we are developing. We are striving to develop and provide as much as possible information. And then we work in one-to-one settings until we reach the quorum, and then we'll launch probably a joint call from this point of view. I mean, I think maybe there are more expensive people within dotSPACE answering to this question, but I took a chance to answer based on my experience. Okay, well, thank you very much, Andrei. And again, you can find the contact information in your presentation, and you can always find information on our website, groundstation.space or opencalls.space, and you can email us at info@groundstation.space to connect to Andrei and also to the other speakers that you've seen. Now we're going to change pace a little bit, because we're
coming towards the end of the formal part of the webinar before we go into networking, but there's a few companies who would like to introduce themselves in a very short pitch, and I will be timing your pitches. So this is really your opportunity to bring your message to this audience in a very short amount of time, but we have 3 pitches lined up. We received slides for one, and I'm assuming the other people will do this without slides. That is Shagnik Bhattacharjee of Ecoten, Pierre Blanchet of Meteori, and Ronald Tumusime of Map Uganda. So assuming, in this case, gentlemen, that you are ready, I will give the floor to you in this sequence. And I see that, oh, Ronald didn't come alone. He brought his colleague Alan Mbabani with him. So a presentation by 2 people, which is great. But I'm going to give the floor to Shagnik Bhattacharjee of Ecoten first for your 1 minute of fame. So Shagnik, if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Awesome. So I'm Shagnik from Ecoten Urban Comfort. We're a small startup company based in Prague in the Czech Republic. And what we do is we work with city planners and urban development stakeholders to help them design cities in a way that's resilient to extreme heat events that we are seeing now more than ever. And the way we do that is, first we use Earth observation data to identify vulnerable hotspots in the city. And then once we have identified those areas, we take a closer look into those areas which are vulnerable, and you use our simulation technology to help bring about new design strategies based on blue-green infrastructure development to help reduce the impacts of extreme heat events in those areas. And that's essentially what we do. So that's it for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Shagnik. That was within a minute, so well done. You've done this before. Where can people find more information, real quick, if they want to get in touch with you?
I've already put my LinkedIn on the chat, so I'm open to having invitations from there. Otherwise, I will also give the website of our website where they can find more details, as well as our previous case studies. And of course, my email will also be there. So I'm happy to anyone who reaches out for this.
And people who can't see the chat at the moment, your website is urban-comfort.eu, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I will write it down.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Shagnik. That was very interesting to hear. By the way, we've also published a few articles together with Shagnik on our website. So if you want to find more information at Groundstation.space, you can read more information about this company. Then I would like to hand over to Pierre Blanchet of Meteori, and we have a presentation that we will share. So as soon as you see that on screen, Pierre, please tell us what this is about.
Perfect, thanks a lot. So my name is Pierre Blanchet, and I'm the co-founder of Meteori. Meteori is a startup that was created last year with one goal in mind, which is to understand the entirety of the carbon cycle at high resolution using satellite data. If you go to the second slide, basically we wanted to make this tool because we see a lack of tool and of data knowledge in carbon emissions as well as carbon absorptions. If you're a company or a government and you want to reduce your emissions or increase your absorptions, you have no way to know, right? And the current state of the art, what you find on NASA, for example, is on the left, and it's not very useful, right? But on the right, we have a map of the Netherlands that we did in this time low resolution about how much carbon is sequestrated in the soil. And that's what Meteori is all about. It's about using the intelligence that is already there, the data that is already there, into making a useful tool for people to basically make the best decisions in terms of carbon neutrality. And yeah, thanks a lot for the time.
Okay, thank you very much, Pierre. Same question that I asked Shagnik. If you can leave your details in the chat, and do you have a website where people can find more?
Yes, I will leave my details, the website, and don't hesitate to reach out. I also saw this morning that there is an open call exactly related to this. So if you want to partner, don't hesitate.
Excellent. Well, that's what this webinar is about. So I really hope that you'll hang around after the presentations are over to talk to us, basically. And then for the last 1 minute pitch, unless there's other people who I missed, but I would like to hand it over to Ronald and Alan of Map Uganda. I don't know who's going to take the floor first, but may I suggest Ronald for you to start?
Thank you so much. My name is Ronald Tomsime. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Yes.
Yes.
I'll start by saying in 2010, it was reported that Uganda lost about 73.6 thousand hectares of tree cover. And since then, there's a lot of restoration campaigns that have been put in place. And as Map Uganda, we are participating in supporting these restoration initiatives. And I will hand it over to Alan to just tell you some of the solutions we are doing.
Thank you so much. I'm Alan Mbavani, and I serve as the ED for OpenStreet Map Uganda. Our solution that we've looked at to curb this challenge is to develop a forest management support system, which is having an approach of mapping out the different land uses that are covering trees. And this we are doing remotely, and also creating now data sets that can be accessed through the OpenStreetMap platform. And looking at these data sets, we are looking at also mapping out the different interventions that are being carried out on national policy, which is tree campaigns carried out by different organizations. And this is not well documented, and we are looking at documenting this through this platform so that we are able to track and monitor the different tree planting and restorations that are happening, and also get to track the different deforestation activities that are happening, so that we be able to have accountability of how to support in restoration of the climate in Uganda. Thank you so much.
On mute. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much, Ronald and Alan, for your contribution. Before I let you go, can you give us can you indicate how we can find out more about the Map Uganda OpenStreet project?
Sure, let's share in the chat of our website.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. And it's really good to see that this webinar reaches much further than just the Netherlands and just Europe, and that we actually have contributions from Africa. So very good to see. So thank you very much for that. With that, we conclude the pitch sessions for today. And if you can share the last slide, please, Ali. Before we move to the networking part, that was Pierre's slide. If you can move to my slide, please. Yes, and then move up a few slides towards, not this one, not this one, this one, yes. So before we go into the networking breakout rooms right here, so don't leave us on Zoom, we want to announce the next webinar, which has a very similar format. We're going to talk about opportunities in digital and industry, which is just a slightly different context. Again, we'll have a whole list of open calls, funding opportunities for you. We have specialists in the area of digital industry who will talk to us about how to benefit from this through a few examples. We'll have another opportunity for you to pitch if you're interested in calls in this particular area in relation to space. So I would encourage you to register now. It's open on our website. Look at our events calendar. You'll find this event. Please register. It's free again. It will follow the same format on the same date, same day next week on the 28th of June at the same time at 4 o'clock CET. So I'm looking forward to seeing you then. Right now, please pick a breakout room. So our speakers will be there, our specialists will be there. So feel free to join them. I will now conclude by saying thank you to all our speakers. Thank you very much for joining us right now. Thank you very much to our participants, because without you, obviously, we can't do this. Thank you very much to the organizing team in the Netherlands Space Office and in the dotSPACE office back in Noordwijk. And I wish you a very fruitful networking. I wish you very fruitful opportunities to benefit from these funding calls. And with that, I'm going to sign off from the studio here and leave it to all of you to meet each other and mingle. So thank you very much.